speak basketball. All you guys have been covering this university for however number of years. Today was the last game that a guy that's been a part of this university for 46 years will be a part of what we do in Matt Cradell. Somebody, he's retiring at the end of this coming week, or it's already Monday, isn't it? Yeah, he's retiring this week. Today is the last game where he will be the equipment manager. Someone needs to, he doesn't want to speak to the media, but someone needs to do a big spread on his life, speak to the former players, speak to managers, me, administrators. That man has given 46 years of his life to make sure that men's basketball around here and women's basketball functions like second to none. And so I thought I'd share that. He's not going to be real happy because he didn't want anyone to know about it, but you don't give 46 years of your life to help others and not have somebody say thank you for it. So outside of that, you know, we've practiced real good. Alonso, I got no idea how long he's out for. It's a sprained ankle. It's not a high ankle sprain. It's just a normal sprain. There's a good amount of swelling. So, you know, that's trainers, the first thing, anytime there's a sprain, the first thing trainers want is swelling to go down. And then the next thing they look for is range of motion and strength. As soon as the swelling goes away, which today was a lot better than yesterday, then they're looking for range of motion and strength. And as soon as he can meet that criteria, he'll be back on the floor. But you know, it's one of them years. Is today the last year in 2018?
Last day.
Wow. Can we hit fast forward? Let's get 19 here. Holy cow. But no, we've practiced real well the last 3 days. We're learning how to practice. I like how we started the game. I didn't like how we played. Once the score changed, we got back to playing the opponent and not playing the game. And that's something that we've been preaching to our players is that, you know, in previous games this season, I don't care how much I yell or how much film or how much we talk about it, we've played the opponent. And when you play the opponent, good things don't happen. And you don't build a, you know, I guess the word everyone uses now is culture. You don't build, I call it personality. What are you about? Whatever you're about, you're supposed to play that way every single time. And we haven't figured that one out yet. But we've practiced real good. And I was happy. We weren't happy at halftime as coaches. But I was happy with the way we played early in the game, and I was happy the way we played to start the second half. Sorry for the long-winded opening statement there.
Frank, you mentioned with the injuries, it just seems to be that kind of year, that kind of run. I mean,
it's incredible.
Do you have to, look at practice habits or equipment or anything like that, or just that's the way it's gone?
He didn't, like, you know, most ankle sprains are you jump and land on someone's foot, or you're running and you plant the cut and your foot just gives. He was running in a straight line, and you know it's part of his challenge. I'm not picking on him. It's part of his challenge is he's got to learn. Like, you know, I say this knowing what that feels like because I was a heavy kid when I was young. Heck, I'm still a heavy kid. That sounds good. I didn't like getting called a heavy kid when I was young. I don't mind it now. I'm a heavy kid. I didn't like the heavy when I was young, but I like the kid part now. So, you know, I'll take the heavy if you call me a kid. But his challenge is, and this is all honest truth, he still runs like a heavy kid where he slides and takes short little steps rather than stride and pick your feet up off the ground. And he's got to learn to do that. He was trying to run faster than you can striding that way, and his shoe just caught on the floor, and his ankle gave. And you know, but it is what it. No, it's to answer your question. It's with him is just his particular injury. He's just got to continue to be patient as he continues to learn how to play more like an athlete and not like, you know, the heavy kid that played 15 and under AAU ball or whatever. But no, equipment, all that stuff. Our guys tape and brace every practice and every game. If they don't, my rule's real simple, and so it's always been this way. Michael Beasley hated to be taped, but he's the only guy. He'd never tape, never brace. Our guys do both. My rule's real simple. If you're not taped and you're not braced, I don't care how big your ankle is, you're practicing. And it's simple as that. Bees used to roll his ankle and it'd be swollen, and he'd be, it's okay, I'll figure it out. And he'd keep practicing. But no, he was taped and braced, and it still went on him. And Dave, I got no idea, man. I try to stay in a positive place. It's all I do. And if I start talking about injuries, then it creates a safety net for the players to accept losing or not being good enough, and that's not fair to the next guy. It's we got to stay in the right place and keep coaching them and keep helping them all get better.
Trey Campbell started and had, I guess, 11 points. Just how would you evaluate his play today and this season, and what would you like to see him do more of now that you're getting into conference play?
Yeah, he going home was actually good for him. He caught his breath for a second there, and he came back. He's had as good of three practices as he's had since like early October, and he came out and played that way to start the game. But then what happened with him? The whole thing is aggressiveness. He's too passive on defense and offense. He's got to be aggressive. And I don't know if you've noticed it the last 7 years, I'm kind of an aggressive personality, so I struggle with passive people, and so I don't take a liking to guys that are passive. And I challenge them when they get passive, and he gets uncomfortable when I challenge him. So going home was good for him. He had 3 real good practices. The first 10 minutes of the game today, first 10 minutes he played, I thought he played real well. He was aggressive on defense. He was aggressive on offense. But then as the score started to separate, he kind of went back to being passive. And that's his challenge, is he's got to learn to get away from that. And unfortunately, we, meaning like me too, we all have to figure out how to help everybody, and it can't help everyone the same way. I really struggle with passive people. It's just who I am. You don't have to be a tough guy. I just don't like passive people. I struggle with people that are passive, and he's, when he gets passive, I struggle, and he doesn't play well. And then it doesn't fit the other 4 guys. So, but I told him during the break, we're going to get it right. We're going to figure it out. It's our job to help him, and he's excited about continuing to work. I'm telling you, he was real good 3 days in practice, so I'm not surprised he went out there and played that way to start the game.
Frank, how important was it for your guys to come off the floor feeling a win after the past month?
Yeah, it's good. Not just obviously winning is always better than the alternative, but seeing the ball go in the basket, defensively, being able to do things, and there's one thing I'm still not happy with our team right now, and it's our inability to come up with the basketball when it's not in possession of anybody. Whether it's bouncing off the rim or it's bouncing on the floor. We don't come up with those basketballs. And I've told the team this, and they better pray that we keep 9, 10 bodies healthy. If we ever get to where we're back to 12, 13, 14 bodies, it's going to be live charge drills, rebounding drills, loose ball drills. But, I got 9, 10 if you include Quad right now, who just got cleared 2 days ago. And I do a loose ball drill, which I got no problem doing now. You go play with 7 guys the next day, and it's just. And if we did it, I wouldn't worry about practicing it, but we don't do it. So that's one thing I'm still unhappy with, is our inability to come up with a basketball that's not in possession. But we were active defensively today. I thought we protected the rim a little better than we have in the past. We protected the paint. We had breakdowns too. It's going to happen, but we did those things better. And then on offense, a kid like Keyshawn, even AJ, and I pick on them too because they're the 2 freshmen that play the guard spot the most for us. Think about the slew of games they just came off of dealing with. And I'm kind of not surprised that Keyshawn jumps up and makes a 3. And they see the ball go in the basket. They kind of relax a little bit. And those 2, especially those 2 guys, needed that.
with a game like this, how important is it, or how do you go about motivating those guys individually, maybe giving them personal goals to kind of work towards? Because the game, if you guys play it, should take care of itself. How do you go about singularly motivating the guys to go through a game like this?
Yeah, I'm never into individual motivation during the season. That's not my deal. We get 30 opportunities as a basketball team. If you need me to motivate you to be great 30 times a year, you're probably not going to have a very successful career in anything you pick. So I'm into the team stuff, and that's what I kind of said earlier. You know, the end of the day, we've lost 4 in a row coming into this game, regardless of who was against. Losing is unacceptable. No one was in a real good mood. I can tell you the coaches haven't been in a good mood. I can tell you Chris Silva hasn't been in a good mood. Sonny hasn't been in a good mood, which that used to be a problem with him. Now, him being in a bad mood, it's because we're not winning. That's, you know, those are good things. I see that. I get excited about people being in a bad mood when your team doesn't win. But be excited about the next day. Individual stuff to me is getting guys to understand what they need to do to help the team, not the opponent. And that's been, I'm telling you, I spent 3 days preaching it. It's all I talked about before the game. This team is immature. I don't say immature to create an excuse to accept losing. I say immature because we play the opponent instead of playing the game. And when you only get 30 of these a year, you ever take one opponent for granted, shame on you. You're not going to be very successful at anything if you take one for granted and you only get 30 of them a year. And the last couple months we've been playing, when we've taken the opponent and played against the opponent rather than play the game, we haven't done real good. And when we've played the opponent and it's been a big name and we've elevated how we played, we've actually looked like a pretty good basketball team. So that's the journey for this team, is to understand how to not be immature and not think selfishly and be worried about what we have to do so we can continue to grow as a team. And part of that journey is to learn how to play the game and not play the opponent.
Frank, I don't know how much you pay attention to plus minus and things like that. I know
None. Zero.
Okay, well,
Zero.
Keyshawn, a lot of it, for whatever reason, no matter how much that stat matters or not, he seems to be on the plus side a lot when he's on the floor, and even in games that you've lost. Why do you think that is? Is it just the nature of his ability, the way he can play, you know, his length, the way he gets out in transition? Is there a specific reason, do you think, that you guys are most of the time outscoring your opponents when he's on the floor?
He's got what I call basketball instincts. Like, he knows, like, he can feel a pass. He kind of knows how to get out in the open court and go get a basket. You know, there's some guys that run faster than him and never get a breakaway. You ever notice that? But yet he's got that knack for that breakaway. He's got those instincts. You know why I don't pay a lot of attention to plus minus? I'm being honest. I'm not trying to be smart at you know what here. If you're LeBron's teammate and 8 of your minutes, if you play 10 minutes, 8 of them are with him on the court, what do you think your plus minus is going to be compared to the 2 minutes that he wasn't on the court?
Well, if you're playing with LeBron, will it be better than playing with Jordan?
I'll let you. I got my answer, and my answer is not. I don't argue, so I don't debate that. But you understand what I'm saying? So if he's in the game, I don't know. I got to go look at minutes. You know, who's in the game with who and all that. If you're in the game when Chris is in the game, 9 times out of 10 on our team, your plus minus is going to be better than if you're in the game when Chris is not in the game. Just because he's that good of a ball screen defender, that good of a protecting the rim, so you don't give up bad baskets, and then it creates a guy that can score at the rim, and things are easier when you have that. So, but honestly, I'm not a big plus minus guy. I actually. This is what I'll say. I don't need a stat sheet to tell me what guys are helping us win. And you know, coaches that do it that way, God bless them. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Remember what my background is. Math involves numbers. I can use numbers to make you think whatever I want to think. So be careful.
I mean, 98% of all people know that, right? Frank, Jason's one of the first guys off the bench today. What did he show you today, and could you see a lot more? Could we see a lot more of him going forward?
He's practiced better than he has all year the last 3 days. You know, I'm not real happy with the production we're getting from the other guys. And he's practiced the right way, so I thought I'd give him a chance. And I thought he played well early, and then late he wasn't very good. You know, we got to get better. That other big spot has to get better. We can't keep playing games there, and all the guys that play at that spot next to Chris have a combined 6 points, 3 rebounds. I mean, you know, and no loose balls, no charges taken, nothing. It's just we're getting zero production from that spot right now. And I'm not picking on them. I'm telling you what I tell them. And I'm searching for answers there for those guys that play better. That's why Alonso was starting to play minutes there. And if you pay attention, he drove me nuts because he breaks us down defensively because he doesn't know. But every time he plays, he doesn't go home with 1 point, 1 rebound. You know, somehow, some way, he goes home and his stat line looks better. But we got to get better there. That's not concern. I'm never concerned. I get concerned about people in real life, not with sports. But that's an area that I'm on right now. I got to, you know, if Justin was healthy, I'd play Justin at the 4 right now, you know, and go with him at the 4 and change how we play. But we got to get more production from that spot.
I guess going back to the plus-minus question, you mentioned that numbers can kind of tell you whatever you want them to tell you. Are there numbers that are more accurate to you than not that you as a staff look at, or how does that work? Are there numbers that or stats that you guys really look at other than points?
See
Final
that
score?
number right there?
Okay. That's it?
When the number next to South Carolina is
Higher
a
than
little
the
bit
other one?
more than the number next to the opponent,
That's it?
that's a good day for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a big stats guy. I'm like here's a stat that as a team bothers me with this team. Okay, we've been out rebounded. We barely out rebounded these guys today. So now we've played 12 games. We've been out rebounded in 9 of the 12, 8 or 9 of the 12. Okay, and offensive rebounding. My teams have always been like that's been a joke when you like people talk about my team. They say, "Well, they got no shooters. That's why they go rebound." I really don't care what people think, but that's kind of a. But you know what? We've been one of the best offensive rebounding teams throughout my coaching career. We're not offensive rebounding right now. We usually the rate that we get offensive rebounds at, which is what matters. That's a numbers thing. Has always been real good. It's not good this year. You know, and you know that's something that we're pushing to get better at, and you know, but there's some time like Michigan. I thought we played as well defensively that game as we've played all year. Yet they shot 50% from the field. That's why it's hard for me to focus in on just a certain number. Possessions. I like a high possession game. You know, when we go home and we played in a high possession game, I'm happy with how we played offensively. When we go home and we play a low possession game, I'm usually not in a real good mood, whether we win or lose. You know, rebounding is an important number for me. That's that especially that offensive rebounding rate I'm talking about. You know, I got into the deflections stuff. I was still coaching high school basketball. I had one of my assistants stat deflections, and Coach Patino used to be big on statting deflections, and Coach Donovan in Florida, and I got into that. It's not me. I'm not going to be in the middle of a timeout and say, we only got 3 deflections. Well, you know, that's not who I am. I got to do it my way, and I'm not wrapped up into all those kind of small numbers, and I know they're important, but not my deal.
Frank, talking with their coach afterwards, he was very complimentary of the opportunity, the experience that they had here. I'm guessing you must take some pride in developing this game over the years, helping, you know, under the radar Division II teams kind of in this state kind of develop their programs as well by playing this game. Yeah,
you know, Pete, that's since the day I got hired, I did the same thing at K-State. It's something that's important to me. It's something that it's not just playing the in-state schools. It was just playing a non-D1 in the regular season. It's not something this school was really excited about. You know, and, you know, Kevin's sitting in here. Kevin and Eric Hyman at the time, and then Ray Tanner. they've supported it, and they've given me the opportunity to play this game. We don't play it to play an easy game. It's we play it. Obviously, if we can't line up and beat a Division II school, there's some of them that are real good, then we're going to struggle in SEC basketball. So we understand that when we schedule it. But it's a great way to get your in-state schools an opportunity, to come play in this building. We're going to write somebody a check for this game. Someone's getting a check for this game. It's just, it is what it is. Why not give it to them? That gives them an opportunity to help their programs. It's, I looked at their roster. They got South Carolina kids. My former head manager, who's now Matt Figures, director of operations, played at North Greenville Tech. He's been like jumping out of his shoes since the day I told him we're playing North Greenville Tech. I think it's a real good thing. I really do. It doesn't hurt our RPI. Obviously, at the end of the year, game does not count for whatever metrics people use. What's it called now? The net? Whatever metrics are used, game does not count for that. I get that. But we're in an exempt tournament, so we're not playing 27 games. We're actually playing 31. So we'll be judged on 30 games instead of 31. And I've always been of the opinion, if after playing 30 games, we're not good enough, we shouldn't be good enough after 31. And if we are good enough with 30, we don't need 31 to determine whether or not. But I just think it's a great thing to build basketball in the state. These coaches at the Division II schools, they work their tails off. They got real small. The only reason they're Division IIs is not for any reason other than budget. That's it. It's plain and simple. So it gives them money for their budget. Those are kids. I can't tell you. I'm going to take a guess. I don't know. They probably had 12, 13 kids in uniform. I think every kid said to me, "Thank you for this opportunity." It's a kid's dream to play, and I'm not trying to be arrogant in this, but at the big school in your own state. It's a dream for those kids to be able to 10 years from now look back and say, "Man, remember we played that game," and it's what it's all about. Those coaches work their tails off with small little budgets, and I don't know. It makes sense to me, and I'm appreciative of the fact that my bosses agree to it and allow me to do it. Happy New Year.